welcome to Dolce Bella Designs. This is Deb, and today I have a beautiful stitch tutorial for you called the Trinity Stitch. The Trinity Stitch is the same on both the front and the back. It is a textured stitch. It's also fairly dense. You can see here it has a little bit of a raised texture, not much, but just a little bit. The Trinity Stitch is what we call a cluster stitch, meaning you're making two or more stitches clustered together and you're grouping them together. The Trinity Stitch is made of 3 single crochets worked together and closed all as one stitch. It's very similar to the regular cluster stitch, except it uses single crochets instead of double crochets. This is a great stitch to use for many different projects, including dishcloths, towels, scarves, blankets, as well as many other things. So let's get started today. I'll put that off to the side, and I'm going to grab my yarn, and I'm going to start today by making a slip knot. All right, and I'm going to grab my hook. I am using a 6mm hook or a size J with my worsted weight yarn. Okay, and to start the cluster stitch or the Trinity stitch, we are going to make a chain with a multiple of 2. So let's begin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 18, 19, and 20. So I am going to do a chain of 20, and I have made my chain for the sample today. To start the Trinity stitch, we are going to work in the second chain from the hook, not counting the one that is on our hook, but we're going to skip 1 and we're going to go into that second chain. And in that second chain from the hook, we are going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, 2 loops on our hook, and pull yarn over and pull through both. So that is just a basic single crochet in that very first chain. Now to make our first Trinity stitch, we are going to basically make 3 single crochets together and then 3 consecutive stitches. We're going to start in that same stitch that we just went into. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so we have 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to go to the next chain and we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop. We now have 3 loops on our hook. Then we're going to go into the next chain, insert our hook, pull up a loop, and now we have 3 loops on our hook. So we've gone into the stitch that we made our single crochet into, and the next 2. We're then going to yarn over and we're going to pull through all 3 loops. And then to close that stitch, we're going to do a chain 1. So now we've made our first Trinity stitch, or 3 single crochets together. Now to go on, we're going to go back into that last chain that we just worked into, and we're going to insert our hook and pull up a loop. There's our first beginning of our single crochet. Go into the next chain, we're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop. So now we've started the beginning of our second single crochet, and then we're going to insert our hook into the next stitch and pull up our third beginning of the single crochet. From there, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops on our hook, and then chain 1 to close that Trinity stitch. That's our second Trinity stitch. Let's try it one more time. So again, you're going to go into that same chain that you just went into, and we're going to pull up a loop as the beginning of our first single crochet. Then we're going to insert our hook into the next chain, pull up a loop, and that's the beginning of our second single crochet. And one more time, we're going to go into the next chain. We're going to insert our hook, pull up a loop, and now we have 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4. Then we're going to chain 1. And that is our next Trinity stitch. Let's continue this across the row. working into the same stitch chain we just worked into, pull up a loop for our first single crochet, insert into the next chain for our second single crochet, and insert into the next chain for the third single crochet. So now we've began 3 single crochets, having 4 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. Then we're going to chain 1 to close that stitch. One thing I do want to mention is that when you do that chain 1, be sure you do it fairly loose so that it is not hard to get your hook into in the next row. Again, into that chain that we just worked into, pull up a loop, your first beginning of your single crochet, insert into the next chain, pull up a loop, your beginning of your second single crochet, and insert into the next chain, which is your beginning of your third single crochet. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, and then chain 1 to close that stitch. We're going to continue that across the row until you get to the last couple stitches on your chain. Okay, I am at the end of my chain. You can see that I have finished a Trinity stitch here, and I have chained 1. I now have 2 chains left. Again, I'm going to go into that chain that I just worked into. I'm going to pull up a loop. That's the beginning of my first single crochet. I'm going to go into the next chain, pull up a loop. That's the beginning of my second single crochet. And then I'm going to go into that last chain, pull up a loop. That is the beginning of our third single crochet. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4. Now, unlike the rest of them, we are not going to chain 1 at the end. We are simply going to go back into that last chain we worked, and we're going to make a single crochet. Just like so. Now we have completed our very first row of Trinity stitches. To continue on to row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. All right, we are going to then do a single crochet at the bottom of that chain 1, right into that stitch. We're going to go ahead and make a single crochet at the beginning of row 2. And then, like when we were working in the chain in row 1 and working into the chains, we are going to insert into that same space. We're going to pull up a loop, which is the beginning of our first single crochet. Then we're going to go into the next stitch and insert our hook and pull up the next loop, the beginning of the next single crochet. Now this is where it gets a little bit tight. You want to insert into the eye of that Trinity stitch and pull up a loop. It's a little bit tighter. You still have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. Chain 1, again loosely, so you can get into it later. Then you're ready to begin the second Trinity stitch. We're going to go back into the eye of that Trinity stitch, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and then go into the next one and pull up a loop. You have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. Chain 1 and continue that across the row, inserting into the same stitch you just worked, pulling up a loop, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and insert into the next stitch and pull up a loop. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. Chain 1 loosely to close that stitch. I will meet you at the end of the row. Okay, I am at the end of my row. I've made my a Trinity stitch and a chain 1. I'm now ready to complete the end of this row. I am going to insert into that last stitch I just worked. I'm going to pull up the first leg of the first part of my first single crochet. I'm going to insert into the next space and pull up a loop. And then for the last loop, we are going to work right back into that very first single crochet that we made. And I'm going to draw up a loop. I'm going to have my 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4. And again, at the end of the row, I am not going to do a chain 1. I am simply going to go back into that last stitch I just worked and make a single crochet. And that is the end of row 2. Now this is a 1 row repeat, so we are going to now repeat row 2 by chaining 1, turning our work. And again, to begin the next row, we are going to insert into that same stitch at the bottom of the chain 1, and we're going to do a single crochet. Then we are going to insert into that same stitch, pull up the loop for our first loop for our first single crochet, insert into the next stitch, pull up another loop, and insert into the third stitch and pull up a loop, so that we have our 4 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4, chain 1 loosely to close that stitch. We're going to continue again, inserting into the same stitch that we just finished, pulling up a loop, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, and insert into the last stitch or the next stitch and pull up a loop. 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1 loosely. Continue that. Again, this is a 1 row repeat. We're going to continue that all the way across the row for row 3. And we're going to pull through all 4. We're going to chain 1. And really the biggest thing to remember is to start your Trinity stitch in the same stitch that you just completed, and then working into the next 2 stitches. At the end, you pull through all 4 loops, you chain 1 loosely, and you're ready to go on to the next Trinity stitch. Again, this is a beautiful stitch that you can use for lots of different projects. I would call this an intermediate stitch because you're clustering them together, and you need to know where you're putting your hook for each of the stitches. But it is a beautiful stitch to use, and it has gorgeous texture. So we work across this row. This is row 3. Again, it is a 1 row repeat. So you're just simply, once you get the hang of it, you can just simply continue to work across the row and go back and forth, and you'll have a lovely fabric created. Again, at the end of each row, you're going to work into the last stitch that you just did, pulling up a loop, into the next stitch, pulling up a loop, and into that first single crochet, pull up a loop, pull through all 4, but instead of doing a chain 1 to close the stitch, you are simply working back into that final stitch that you just worked, pulling up a loop and making a single crochet, and that is going to end your row. Then you're simply going to chain 1 and turn, and you're ready to continue on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for stopping by Dolce Bella Designs, where we love to create new things with lots of new stitches. And please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments what you think you would use this stitch for. And until next time, happy crocheting.